So I met this guy whose king was love. He called himself Mr. Sweetheart. Yeah, you heard me right. Obviously, he wasn't into BDSM. I saw him at the gym, punishing his body 6x a week, letting the iron bite into his skin, sweat stinging his eyes, his breath catching, choking as he demanded more. More out of his body, more out of himself. His jaw would stay clenched through every rep, like he was lifting something heavier than the weight itself, something invisible, something like hope. He was hoping to be seen, really seen, beyond the gaping black stringer that he wore, beyond the peachy swell of his chest, and into his big, sweet, sweet heart. And I saw that. I saw it when he walked over to this old lady by the leg pull machine. Her right arm was in a cast, and she was clearly struggling with her shoelaces. So he walked up to her, and he didn't say hi, he didn't say hello, he didn't say a word to her. He just bent down and tied her shoelaces for her. The old lady didn't thank him. What an ungrateful crone, honestly. But I did. I caught him just as he was slinging his gym bag over his shoulder. So I walked up to him and I said, it was really hard, but I said to him, that was really kind of you. She's decrepit, he replied, not even looking at me. She can't reach her ankles with or without her injury. If she can't tie her laces, I have to do it for her. Then he turned and fixed his gaze at me. Not gonna lie, I was stunned. I knew he was insensitive. I also knew that he was factual, but I couldn't decide which adjective to choose for him at that moment. And I swear, I felt cut up under his gaze, like I was made of paper. I was lost in his way, and he said to me, Ma'am, can you move away from the door? When he left, my embarrassment hit harder than the door closing behind him. A week later, I didn't think we'd ever end up sitting diagonally across from each other at this cafe below our gym, but we did. I was old enough for him to call me ma'am, obviously, and he was just too blunt for me to find him attractive. But I still looked at him, don't get me wrong. We weren't on a date. He was on a date until his date left. And he just sat there quietly jabbing his phone screen like it owed him something. And I was on my own as usual, a cup of hot vanilla milk, pretending to read a book. We didn't talk that day, though I really needed him to notice me because he was hot. So I waited a bit longer, even after my cup was empty, even after he had left. Not sure if he ever saw me, but by the end of a little proxy date, I knew something. His shoulders would stiffen just slightly every time someone got too close to him. And that surprised me because I didn't think someone like him could ever recoil from anything or anyone. Or, wait a minute, would someone as powerful as him say they were capable of fear or incapable? So we ran into each other again, just like in the movies, serendipitously at a hospital. I was there for some tests. I stepped into one of those tucked away spaces at the far end of the maternity hospital, the ultrasound room. You'd think that place would be front and center, right? Where life first shows up on a screen, but no. It was in the back, hidden from plain sight. Like everything else to do with a woman's body, really. Breasts behind bras, pads behind wrappers, flirtation behind glances, and desire behind locked doors. Pain, blood, and screams. Everything is hidden. Why should anything that happens to us, anything we feel, suffer, or long for, ever be allowed at the forefront, right? So I was lying there in The imaging bed, I think that's what it's called. So it was this dim corner of this ultrasound room. There was a paper sheet beneath me, and it kept like crinkling with every shift of my body. The air had that faint, sterile smell of disinfectants and something metallic, old instruments. Then a lady asked me to take my panties off and keep my legs apart for the ultrasound technician. She was his assistant. That's when I saw him. A head of unruly curls, wild curls, broad shoulders that seemed too high for the ceiling to hold down. It was him, as if I had conjured him out of thin air. My heart thudded. He couldn't have recognized me, not with my face mask on, and my body hidden beneath that shapeless gown. He confirmed my name, put on his gloves, and then brought the probe for insertion. And it was torture. I couldn't keep my legs open. I flinched again and again. I wasn't sure. Was it the silence, the room, him? I was just feeling so goddamn anxious. Relax. I haven't even started yet, he said to me. After a few failed tries, I told him that I wasn't comfortable and that I wanted to leave. And then I paused, had this thought up in my head, but I couldn't get it out of me. I wanted to introduce himself. I wanted to introduce myself to him, that I was a woman from the gym, that I was the one who thanked him for tying the old lady's laces, that old ungrateful crone. But that interaction happened so long ago, and I kind of sounded pathetic in my head, desperate even, like I was one of those women who mistake attention for romantic interest. He sighed. He possibly sensed my anxiety. So he said to me to take a minute and to calm myself down. And then he asked his assistant to help me remove my face mask. And I felt relief for a few moments. But I was also simultaneously confused. Like, why wouldn't he let me leave? Then he kind of stepped outside the room along with his assistant. And when he returned, his assistant wasn't with him. His voice was even graver than his baseline serious voice. And he said to me that I suspect there's a cyst in your left ovary, but unless you calm down, I can't tell you how big it is or if it needs surgery. My anxious feelings resurfaced. The walls felt closer. I was feeling so hot in there, and my breath was shallow. The paper beneath me wet. He stood there watching me fall apart, losing control over something every functioning adult should be able to manage on their own. Was I decrepit like that old woman from the gym? Was that the thought that was in his head? And he just was really calm, and he said to me that now that you've let go, do you want to clean up so I can find out what's going on inside you? Do you think you can clean up or you can't? So let me do it for you. I swear I broke down. I didn't ever think that I would end up in the hospital having a panic attack in front of him. And what was even worse was I had peed and he had watched me pee in front of him. So I apologized to him for the mess, for the whole mess. And then something in him kind of shifted in that moment. The blade of his gaze softened, tender, glassy balls of jelly. Hey, it's all right. We don't have to do this today. He sounded so gentle, so kind. His fingers brushed mine as he handed me my file. And there was a smile on his face. I'd never seen him smile before. And I kind of looked down, like scanning him at that moment, and I saw it. Something alive moving under his pants. I left with the file pressed to my chest, not confused by what I'd seen, but by what it meant. I avoided the gym for 2 weeks, but for the next 2 weeks, but I couldn't stop thinking about him. I went back to the hospital, requested a rescan, got the appointment, showed up for the appointment, but he wasn't there. I lingered in the ultrasound room after it was all over, after the scan was done, for too long. I was kind of tempted to ask about him, but the question died in my throat. His replacement was quick, efficient, too fast. When I asked about the cyst, she looked confused. Just check with the doctor, she said. And I ended up in the doctor's office, and the doctor barely looked up from her screen. And she said to me that I had to continue my usual medication. And I brought up the cyst again, and she blinked, puzzled. So I flipped through the report myself. There was nothing in there, just the usual PCOS. None of it made sense to me. I could still kind of feel the panic I'd had that day. So that day was real. It's not like I'd imagined it. So I walked to the front desk to talk to the receptionist to confirm this was not all in my head and it was actually real. Can I get a list of your ultrasound technicians? I asked. And the receptionist said, sure. And she handed me this list. So I then went back home and I searched for every name on that list online. Scrolled, sleuthed until I found him. A Medium account. His photo, those wild curls, Adrian Grenier vibes, 1999 drive me crazy. In his photo, a glossy rose pinned to the lapel of his black suit. A gentleman. I found essays in there, dozens, all about love. Each one signed Mr. Sweetheart. He called himself a voluntary celibate, a perennial bachelor. Said the modern woman was a whole, WHOLE, that she didn't need a man. If she doesn't need me, I can't give, he wrote. He romanticized the female neediness, the beauty of the desperation in a woman's tears. Said men ruined the moment by trying to fix a crying woman. She needs to fall apart, so let her get it out. So let her fall apart. That's when she'll need you. That's when the man becomes the giver. He wrote, the most erotic thing is a woman crying, comforting her as she breaks, or making her uncomfortable enough to break so she remembers to need you. My stomach turned at the polemics. There was no cyst. He'd lied to me. Just to watch me cry. Just to feel needed. Just so he could feel his manhood. That's the moment when he smiled at me. That's the moment he recognized he had become the giver. This was a story about grey love, the kind that lives in the in-between. Not quite right, not fully wrong.
Next time on Grey Love.
So I met this guy who took no for an answer.